the only programme on British television to give you the people's chance to tell you. Welcome to the Riot special edition of Question Time. With me tonight I have seven guests who will be giving their varying viewpoints on the riots of this summer.
The problem we have here is that these were individuals who are attacking businesses, houses, communities and property, and causing a huge amount of upset criminality.
Yes, their parents never told them right is right. Because no one ever set them an example.
These people spend too much time speaking to their social workers. They have no morals, no respect, right? I grew up in a more humble home than you know, and these people have got no excuse.
Don't call it rioting. What can you call it? I call it insurrection of the masses of people. It's happening in Syria. It's happening in Clapham. It's happening in Birmingham. It's rooted in Port Spain, and that is the nature of this historical moment.
Any man, the government give us nothing, so if the opportunity comes, you're obviously going to take it.
I'm in the wrong place at the wrong time. This used to be a good country, a fair country. Now it's getting like the third world. There's no respect for the law.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We need to listen to each other, one at a time. Please respect that.
For me, what was most striking about the disorder is that many of those involved clearly felt like they had nothing to lose. Nothing to lose from destroying property, stealing goods, from getting a criminal record, and from deeply damaging their future prospects for a job or education. For many of the rioters, it was as if their future had little value. It was about what they could get, here and now, and hang the consequences. Clearly the people on the streets this week have felt little stake in society and no responsibility towards their own communities. There is no excuse for this behaviour, none. As a Liberal, I see violence and disorder of this kind as an attack on liberty, on the freedom for individuals to live and trade in peace in their own communities. I think the best defence against this snarly's behaviour is to ensure that everyone feels a stake in society and everyone feels a sense of responsibility towards their own communities. That, in turn, means giving people the responsibilities to get ahead so that they feel that they have a stake in their own future. That is why this government has decided to focus our social policies on social mobilities, because having opportunity, real opportunity, gives people the drive, discipline and responsibility to do the right thing, putting more money into schools with disadvantaged youngsters, expanding apprenticeships, increasing the provision of early years education. None of these will be quick fixes. There are no quick fixes. But these are the kind of investments we need to sort now, to spread opportunity in the future.
Now can we hear from a business proprietor who was attacked?
I called the police early that morning and they said they were too busy and they'd make it down the next morning at 8 AM. However, they called us and said they didn't know when they'd make it down. The thing that really hurt is there was no warning from the police. 1 minute I was at work finishing up a client's outfit, then the next there were literally hundreds of youths gathering outside our run of shops. I was so scared. I didn't know what to do but to get out as I knew my life would be in danger if I'd stayed there to protect my business. These youths had bottles, bricks, and most appeared to have been drinking. They were young people who had no feeling or empathy for what had taken most of us years and years to build up. And the police are saying they can't even stop them from looting. How is this so? What the hell is wrong with this country? I don't feel safe here anymore. We are living in a society where the underworld has taken over. We're paying £6,000 a year in business rates for highway maintenance and the fire and police services, and they don't even stop the people that are looting in front of them. I might as well give up on all my aspirations and play the bloody doll like the rest of them scumbags.
This week's riots are sad and frightening. I naturally began to wonder what will make young people destroy their own communities. I've spoken to mates in London and Manchester, and they all sound genuinely frightened and hopeless. And the details of their stories place this outbreak in the realms of any political idealism or rationalisation. But I can't, from my ivory tower, describe these rioters as mindless. And nor do I want to dwell on the sadness of our beautiful cities being tarnished, people's shops and livelihoods, sometimes generations old, being immolated. The only question I can legitimately ask is, why is this happening? Mark Duggan's death has been badly handled, but no one's contesting that it is a reason for these conflagrations before the start of all the activity in Tottenham. I've heard Theresa May and the old Etonians, whose holidays are being curtailed. Many will say they're the real victims, saying the behaviour is unjustifiable and unacceptable. Wow, thanks guys. However unacceptable and unjustifiable it might be, it's happened, so we better accept it. And whilst we can't justify it, we should kick around a few neurons and work out why so many people feel disconnected from the cities they live in. Now, I should admit, I have been arrested for criminal damage for my part in the anti-capitalist protests earlier this decade. I found those protests exciting because I was young and a bit of a twerp, but also, I suppose, because there was a void in me, a lack of direction, a sense that I wasn't invested in the dominant culture. That government existed, not to look after the interests of the people that it was elected to represent, but the big businesses that we were in bed with. And I had a mum that loved me, a dad that told me nothing was beyond my reach. In education, I shouldn't think how disenfranchised I would have felt if I'd been deprived of that long list of privileges. That state of deprivation, though, is of course a condition that many of those rioting endure as their unbending reality. No education, a weakened family unit, no money and no way of getting any. JD Sports is probably easier to desecrate, can't afford us in there, and the few poorly paid jobs there are taken. The only light in their lives comes from these luminous corporate messages. No wonder they have their fucking hoods up. I remember David Cameron saying, "Oh, the hoodie!" But I haven't seen him doing it. Have you? These young people have no sense of community because they haven't been given one. They have no stake in society because Cameron's mentor, Margaret Thatcher, told us that there's no such thing. If we don't want young people to tear apart our communities, then don't let those in power tear apart the values that hold our communities together. The solution's all around us, and it isn't political, it is spiritual. Gandhi said, "Be the change you want to see in the world." In this simple sentiment, we can find hope, as we can in the efforts of those cleaning the rubbish off the streets. If we want to live in a society where people feel included, we must include them. Where they're represented, we must represent them. And where they feel love and compassion for their communities, then we, the members of that community, must find love and compassion for them.
A recent headline in the tabloids is it the government's fault? So what do we think? With us tonight we have a university student struggling to make ends meet. Do you think the government is to blame?
Well, no, not really. It is hard for students to survive in these economic times. And I admit, university education is slowly being aimed at the middle class. That is a shame. For me, all I can say is I was caught up in the moment. Am I ashamed? Yes, enormously. I was overcome by greed. But I can honestly say that this is the way of the Western world. I'm no different from this woman next to me. I was a bit skinned. Just because I speak better, it doesn't make it more of a crime. I've had the worst punishment, because my dreams of becoming a social worker are now in jeopardy, because I stole a £300 JVC television from a battered comic store. I was on my way home from work, and I had been out for a drink, and I became involved in this opportunistic looting. I was so overcome with guilt after. I handed myself in to the police. I was promptly arrested. My mother, she's totally confused and ashamed of me. And I honestly hate myself for being there that night. But it seemed fun at the time, and everyone was having a go. I didn't even need a TV. I didn't even want a TV.
I spent the whole week sobbing in my room as I came to terms with the effect that this conviction could have on my career. I agree, I should have been punished, but more than anybody else because I didn't need it as much. That's just not right. I've learned the hard way, not to be easily influenced by what you see or hear. I don't class myself as a looter or a rioter. I'm just a person who got caught up in all this madness like everybody else.